I'm happy to talk to you guys today. Good to meet everybody. I work with BHP in Adelaide for a long time out in the Gawler Craton, etc. So good to be back here and meet you guys as well. So I'm going to take a bit of a different slant, talk about copper today. Now, you know, that's the old copper. I think it's got a long life and a long future ahead. There's every type of battery metal, as you can imagine, the lithium, the helium, the hydrogen, graphite, every type of energy required, but it all needs copper for the infrastructure and everything like that. So no matter how the winds change, we'll always need copper. And that we know the deficits, and you guys are probably better copper experts than me. But look, I will talk mostly about Storm today, but as Danica alluded to, we are a 3-asset company. Obviously Storm's in Nunuvut in Canada, and then we have West Desert and Copper Warrior in Utah. Now, all of those are Tier 1 jurisdictions, and a lot of people jimmy that term around, but these seriously are. Storm's the Polaris base metal district. West Desert is down the road from Bingham Canyon, the world's largest copper mine, and Copper Warrior is right next door to Utah's second largest copper mine. So we've got the infrastructure and the jurisdictions and you know, to support these assets. So Storm, what is it? Look, Storm, certainly in the last 2 seasons we've moved it forwards. It's leading to be a camp scale copper mining opportunity. We think it's of global significance, and the reasons are a number, but I'll talk to. So look, where is it? And a lot of the questions we get asked about, it's in the Arctic in Canada. And people say, how do you do business there? How do you work there? Short seasons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm here to tell you that it's really Arctic for beginners. It's in the Polaris base metal district, which has Nunuvut and Polaris zinc and lead mines. They were mined for 20 plus years. I think Polaris was Tex Kaminko's most profitable mine when it was running. So they mine all year round. Underground, open pit, doesn't matter. We do exploration, it's on the surface, so that's obviously more exposed. But like Richard spoke to, like Greg spoke to, like everyone in Australia speaks to, even the exploration here is seasonal. You walk in Queensland, you work in the Kimberley, you work in Central Australia, you're generally not working in summer with cyclones, etc., or etc., etc. So we've extended the exploration season to about 6 to 9 months. Last year it was only 2 months. So that's, you know, that's us learning about the area and becoming more efficient, etc., etc. Next year we're looking to be a 12-month operation with the exploration. So we've got a camp on site all year round. The only visitors we get is polar bears during the winter, but outside of that, and the local community. So a little story. I know this could turn into a long lunch, but people say, oh, you know, it's winter, it's dark, and yeah, it's dark, but we're 100 kilometres from Resolute, which is the main community up there. And we had some local community members down at site this summer. One of them was a wildlife officer, and she said, oh, we came and visited your site during the winter. I was like, oh yeah, cool. How and what? And so they rode their skidoos from Resolute to our camp across the frozen Northwest Passage, which is 100 kilometres away, in 3 hours. So they're hardcore. Like, this is, we, you know, worry about a little bit of snow and a little bit of heat and all this sort of stuff. These guys are riding their skidoos, towing their own little caravans to our camp to check it out, just to see what it was like. So look, they know how to do business up there. Moving on, what is Storm? Storm is the drilling we've done this year, and we drilled 63 holes this year and 10 last year. And out of those 73 holes, every single hole has hit copper sulfide. So that's not us as a technical team being excellent, some of that, but I think, look, it's telling you something, there's copper everywhere. The vast majority of that is economic, and I'll talk to that in a second. 2 things we did resource definition and exploration. So I think that's an outstanding success rate, and certainly more than we expected this season. So we've confirmed it's a sediment-hosted deposit. So Mateo, Central African Belt, Botswana, and that's the kind of deposit we're looking at. I showed Julian Hanna, if you guys know Julian Hanna. He's a big shareholder of us, shares an office. I showed him photos of core last year, and he said, oh, Dave, he brought his phone out and said, well, look at this. And it was identical. It was a massive bornite in the upper zone above Mateo, which is a high-grade zone that sits above the major deposit. It looked identical to our core. Look, we've got, as we speak, today, Dave Broaden, who discovered Kamoa Kakula, is with Ivanhoe Mines. He's looking at our drill core in Vancouver as we speak to just confirm some of the assumptions we're making. But this is the big system. Like Danica alluded to, that we've got a significant amount of near-surface mineralisation, which is high-grade, structurally controlled, and one of them is a big flat-lying traditional sediment-hosted copper. And then we have the big thing at depth that we've got sniffs of. Saying sniffs, you've got up to 2.7% copper at depth, which tells us that there's really a potential for large volumes of high grade there. So the beauty of this is we've only explored 5% of the belt. The belt's 110 kilometres long. We've got copper anomalies all the way down that belt, up to 30% copper exposed at surface. So we think this is a very large system. How are we going to do it? So the tenor for the near-surface material is about 1 to 3% copper on average. So if you think of the global average for copper mines in any instance, open pit and underground, it's about 0.42% copper. So that gives you a sense of what, Carnaby, fantastic Australian copper company, some of the intersections they're getting, bear in mind that's mostly underground. All of our resources, and we're working towards a mineral resource estimate this year on the open pits near surface material, is in that 1 to 3% copper range. So that's going to rank one of the highest grade open pit copper mines globally. But that's not the exciting part, it's what we do with it. So we have found that we don't, given the way it's brecciated and it fractures and breaks up, we can actually mechanically beneficiate that to make a concentrate. So no flotation required, which for us is the oh shit moment, because rather than build a $250 million flotation plant with tailings, chemicals and all that, we can simply have a quarry style operation where we beneficiate it through jigs, ore sorting, has proven to work as well, which keeps the capital down, makes more efficient up in that part of the world with no tailings dams, etc. So that'll give us a license to operate. Permitting's underway. We completed an environmental study on that side of things this year as well. So super exciting. That has the potential to be very low cost and very high margin. So look out for hopefully a maiden resource in the next month or so, and then economic studies after that. But that's essentially Storm in a nutshell, and I've run out of time. But look, the other thing is we're drilling. So the other thing, and this is a really good point, in talking about this seasonality, like we've got 3 assets. The two ones in Utah, all year round. In fact, we'll start drilling Copper Warrior next week. And Copper Warrior is actually, like I said, immediately adjacent to Lisbon Valley, which is another traditional sedimentary copper style deposit. 50 million tonnes at about 0.5, 0.6% copper. We have had the exact same mine units there. We've got copper sticking out of the ground, and we've got some big IP anomalies that we're going to test. So we'll be drilling next week, and that'll be one of 2 programs we do at Copper Warrior in the off-season before we start up at Storm again next March. So lots to look out for, steady news flow, and we've also got money. So to do it, because that's the big thing everyone asks, and Des over here will probably ask me how much money we have. So we have $7 million as of the September quarterly, which should come out in the next day or so. So well funded, enough to do what we need to do in the short term to intermediate term. So we're sitting in a pretty good place.
Since we're using one mic, you can call out questions in the audience.
Any questions?
I'll do the mic girl thing. There you go.
I'm looking at your 6-month chart and it says you're up 100%. But in that time, you've been 5 cents and you've been 40 cents and now you're 10 cents. That's a lot of movement. Can you give us a sort of a basic understanding of what's happened there?
No, I can't. Other than the bear, well, look, take all the bear stuff out. I think we had, so when we were at 5 cents, RM Capital came in behind us, and really we backed Storm in. We knew what it could produce, and so we scripted and put the money together back at the start of this year, which got us over the line. And then we did some subsequent capital raises, but all part of that, we've never had the big institutional support, I guess. Usually going for a 100 mil market cap kind of thing. We had some time and a long period over that, and we'd start to engage a couple of these big institutions, etc. But obviously, where we are now, so certainly those conversations are still going on, but they've obviously got mandates, etc. So I think it's a bit of the retail side of things. I'd love to know if someone has sold shares in the recent why, because the techniques are still there. For me, it's been particularly frustrating because I can see that the technical work we put behind it, the results. I think, and this is honest, I think we're in line to get one of the best copper intersections on the ASX this year. We hit 20 metres at 6% copper at surface, which is not bad. And that's just one of many. And so we've got the technicals there, we've done the work, we've got the people, and we've got the money. So, I mean, if it's the off-season, we think we stop drilling, well, we're drilling Copper Warrior next week. So drilling will continue, which is much cheaper, by the way, because it's in Utah and less than $500,000 to do that program. So I can only guess, bear market, the world's gone to shit. But look, you can't people take their money off the table. Maybe they got in at 5 cents and maybe they, double their money's fine when other assets of theirs have gone down potentially. So they're trying to just balance their sheet. I don't know. But we certainly, nothing's changed from a technical or company perspective. We've got a long-term strategy and that's what we're sticking to. And part of that is and I think it's important to note that this sort of beneficiation will, and the work we're doing, front-end loading with the permitting, is going to get us to production sooner. And we believe we'll have this in production and be maybe ASX next copper miner. So working on it, and if it'll help our IR strategy to be able to, taper some of this off. So, yeah.
That is definitely what we hear a lot, that it's about the seasonality of the drilling, isn't it? Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, which is fair enough, but I guess we want to demonstrate as well that we do have the other assets that we work on. And while they probably not produce the same spectacular copper hits as Storm, they'll still have significant value if we do find copper at that asset. And the other thing is as well is that, we're doing a lot in the off-season for Storm. So we'll be back up there in March with Christmas and January gone and everyone off on holidays. Then before too long, we'll be have the geophysics crews up at Storm again and people will be like, oh shit, they came around quick. So, and we've got a resource and some economic studies in between then. So yeah, thanks for the feedback. I think we can show people that the rig's still turning, hopefully. So yeah. For everyone who didn't hear, just wondering if ore sorting had been done on copper and nickel, I think you said as well. So yeah, all over the place. Wim Creek does copper. Now look, ore sorting's a very small part of the process. It's generally grain size, without getting technical and making this lunch longer, grain size constrained and throughput constrained. So you need a bank of them. So certainly on the real high grade parts, it works like a treat. But we've been talking to metal traders and smelters and they're like, well, why make a 50% copper product when the average out of Australia is 25? Then we can just blend it with everything else. We said, well, that's a fair point. It actually dumbs the process down. So hence, we've been saying we've been doing this work in the background and we have. The goalposts keep changing for us. So it's getting bigger, the deposit's getting bigger, multiple deposits getting bigger, and also the process is changing because we're dumbing it down. So standard dry jigging, wet jigging, all that sort of stuff works. You have more throughput because it's going to be a bigger mine than what we originally envisaged. So yes, but nickel, so they've used it at Cosmos, they've used it in a bunch of doing like sub-grade stockpiles, upgrading them. It depends on, this is not a disseminated ore body, it's like massive copper sulfides in veinlets and things, so it breaks up really well, so it's quite amenable to that.